So unaweza tuambia kuhusu hii Macondo ni nini? Watu wanasikia Macondo.
Kuna mtu ajui Macondo.
Kuna watu wanasikiza nadhani ni Macondo pia.
Macondo pia.
Nina mtu akipost kitu kuhusu hiyo nini kwa status yake. Very interesting that we mentioned na literally a few days ago. Umsa alirant kuhusu kitu.
Kwa nini mimi Macondo pia baby. It just rolls off the tongue.
Very funny. That has come up. So unaweza tuambia wewe mwenye ulikuwa part of the literary festival last year. This year pia hata ulikuwa kwa interview KUTV ukiambia watu kuhusu Sina jamii ni nani sile?
Ndani mimi tu na the presenter. You know that there are certain stations when you go to you don't really expect an audience. I'm not talking of KUTV. I'm just saying.
So Macondo will happen from Friday the 15th.
Yes.
Hadi Sunday the 17th. Hiyo ndo show Slim alikuwa na refer to, na pia alisema aliitaja pia akiongelea performance ya Juliani which ilifunga the festival. So unaweza ambia wase kuhusu this Macondo Literary Festival. You can talk about pia your experience of it, and pia vitu zili stand out because you're having conversations na wewe tukiwa in and out of those sessions kuhusu the idea of home, and you can also just bring that in and then to dive into the concepts that zilikuwa zinakuwa discussed.
Okay, yeah. So Macondo is a literary fest. So it's Macondo Book Society. So they form the Macondo Literary Festival, which happens to be the biggest literary festival in East and Central Africa. It's not your normal, typical kind of literary festival, you know. Yeah, so it's happened. This is its third edition, and ilikuwa ina happen. I was the first edition ilikuwa naionea tumbali. Then I happened to be part of the second edition, which was exploring the future of memories, and I found that very interesting. The future of memories is just how literature seeks to predict how the future looks like, and how literature can become prophetic. Yes, na tumeona hizi sana with a lot of books really getting to predict what happens in the future. A lot of authors in Kenya wenye wamepatiwa that wase wengi wamekuwa wakitaja mostly Ken Walibora na Wala bin Wala, pia kukuwa na that eye of just predicting how Kenya becomes even after independence and years on. And so yeah, that was it, the previous festival. And then this year it was Disrupting Home. So ilikuwa all about just what does home mean to you, and how do you as an individual or someone in literature or these books disrupt home, define what home is, and how we respond to disruption of home. So disruption of home inachukua a lot of forms. Yes, disruption of home could be home as in that basic unit of a family, and death can disrupt home in a sense, you know. Career, switching careers, moving abroad. Have hizo conversations about mse kuamua, hey, this place is not good enough for me, chani move to some place else, just with the vision of transforming home again. So whether this really gets to happen, whether you go with the vision of transforming home and then you are transformed in the process, and una feel ni kama it's no longer your responsibility, or you really don't have the power to. So hiyo ndio ilikuwa everything about home. So nilikuja nika notice home itself just as a word is seriously vast. Is seriously vast. And I think one definition that really stayed with me was home is that place where like we are always fleeting, we are always running, trying to find peace, trying to find understanding, trying to find comfort. But home is that one place that all your reasons for fleeting disappear. I think that for me became the definition of home. Kulikuwa na other
That's a
definition.
beautiful definition.
Literary in itself, yeah. Kulikuwa pia na ingine wakisema I think that was by Youssef. Youssef was saying we are made of dreams and these dreams are home. I also found that very very interesting, yeah, because when you stop dreaming, then you are not at home. Leila Aboulela was saying the place that is not home always seeks to diminish, to diminish the sense of who you are, what you are, and home is the only place that fights to ensure that you are listened and you are heard and you are at peace. Or
enhances and fosters that.
Yes. So just getting to listen to these people give their perspective of home. And kitu yenye nilipenda sasa kabisa entirely was that you can also be at a place without a home, and that can also be home. So it's a lot, man.
Kitu pia that ni important to note with the festival ni that ilikuwa na a combination of writers wenye live in their home countries, in their representative countries, and then kuna wale wenye ni the African diaspora. And so kusikia hizo perspectives from these different individuals wenye wanaishi katika countries zao, and then wale wenye hawaishi huko necessarily and they come in and live from time to time na wako part of the African diaspora. Uli come kwa briefly cause capitalism, because you have to support the country. Lazima support
taxes,
GDP. Na ulipe taxes and all. Ukaishia. Uli experience part of a reading and some conversation. Any sentiments na pia generally tu kuhusu tu concepts za home.
Well, can't remember verbatim, like slim. Even mentioning the authors and the writers.
Uji msa liko kwa hiyo booklet kwanza, jina lake liko pale. Workshop facilitator.
Nafaa ni post hiyo kitu bwana.
Workshop facilitator.
Bana jo. But the little interaction ili have na the authors that were on stage hiyo the opening night, nilipenda because waliulizwa how they disrupt home, how their novels ama their writing disrupts the concept of home. Nilipenda the dude mentioned music.
Hiyo ni Kalaf Epalanga, Angolan.
Nilipenda the author pia bila mention moving and how like home, the idea of home changes like over time with motion. Tuseme if vile alikuwa anasema tuseme unaishi umeenda UK kustudy, then ukirudi tuseme Uganda, that's your home, kirudi like nile umerudi home, then umerudi tena UK, sasa umerudi kufanya kazi, then umerudi Uganda, umerudi home. Lakini sasa ukienda UK tena si bado unafanya kazi, unaishi, by that time you've been away from Uganda longer than you've been back to Uganda. So ukienda Uganda, so ukitoka Uganda, as you're leaving Uganda, they'll be like, now are you going back home?
You're going back home.
And then
nakumbuka hiyo.
I love that. And then ile at that point unajiuliza, but I am home. Kwani mnanifukuza? And then but then ile but like haujaishi huko for so long, you don't even identify with the things that are Ugandan per se, so like you identify with more of the UK than with Uganda. Yes, you're Ugandan and nini, but at that point in time home is UK, lakini pia ukiwa UK home is Uganda.
Actually, pia
yeah.
I've experienced that with friends na people who I know wenye live abroad
Yeah.
ama wamekuwa abroad for a couple of years. Kuna kuanga na hiyo situation ya when you come back to your home country na umekuwa away for some time, una feel your disconnect between hii place yenye this is your home ama umegrow up in na umeishi for a long time as compared to kule umekuwa. And then pia kuna ile fact that ukiwa huku pia watu wenyewe pia wana feel huyu si mtu amekuwa huku around, and we have that thing as human beings kujua watu wenye wako out of context in particular environments, unasema au si msewa hapa si msewa hapa. So nimekuwa pia nikisikia hizo sentiments na hizo feelings from watu wenye najua who've been outside and then wamerudi, kuna hiyo disconnect here. Okay,
Actually,
in home, yes, but
and then another thing ingine ilo alimention na home ni the author ule alimention about home being a place where you can, like home is a place where you are recognized as opposed to UK. So akasema ka vile alikuwa
ni Leila Aboulela.
Leila
Aboulela.
vile alikuwa alisema kwa nini akusema I can't remember the country alisema they're from.
Ni Sudan UK.
Sudan.
Sudan UK.
Na so yenda alikuwa naongea the French one alisema alirecognizewa.
Huyo ni Hemley. Huyo ni Hemley
ndo
the Cameroonian.
Yeye ndo alimention about recognition.
Ile akiambiwa you look like your mother when she was young.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
And you can never hear that outside of your home country.
Yes,
Nah.
exactly.
You can't.
Hawezi.
Yeah, manze, that
Yo,
that
that
was
was
street.
yo.
That's
Na
stuck
alikuwa-
with
kuna nilipenda vile alisema at first alikuwa tembea anasikia mtu anamuita jina mamake. Anashangaa nani huyu? And then akasimama na msaka kuja akamwambia by the way kwanza from the hata nikiangalia tu na nyuma nilikuwa na so sure it's your mother, you know. And it's from the back. I see you saw, you know.
Ni kama sijui kama unakumbuka from story ya Aminatta Forna jana during session yake na Mshai. Sa Aminatta alikuwa anasema alikuwa kwa hii experience, alikuwa na drive mahali and then aka-encounter karao then wakaanza kuinteract na the idea, the objective ilikuwa chai. So wanaongea and then kuna mse alipita and as alikuwa napita akaanza kucheck nini happen kwa hii situation and then umse akaambia karao unajua huyu ni granddaughter wa so and so. That changed everything. Yeye na hiyo idea yake na lengo lake la kutafuta hongo ikabadilika. Vile alikuwa namuongelesha
Ikabadilika.
and alikuwa anasema the grandparent ni mtu alikufa years and years ago. Sijui in the 40s or even earlier or something. So imagine, and it's
over
really
70 years ago.
And there is that sort of lineage for our generations and how we experience reality with this sort of continuity. But tunaweza kuja uambie mseni kana imagine let's in the next 100 years tukue in some way ile place tumeweka historia na significance ya the Kenyatta zipungue ama yuko imedecline and I'm imagining a grand someone of that family yako kwa such an experience and then mseambia karao wewe unajua huyu ni ako lineage the Kenyatas and how that will change.
Huyu ni ya Kenyatta huyu.
Uli Kenyatta. Hapana guza.
Ulikuwa sawa kitu slim.
Linked to that, I think nilipenda also two writers wenye definitions zao zilikuwa very similar. That was Yvonne Adhiambo and Aminatta. Aminatta was not to quote her directly, but alikuwa definition yake ilikuwa, you know, F the idea of home, you know. For me, who gives us the right to decide this is home? Yes, when we all have a claim to this place that is earth, you know, us limiting ourselves to an origin or this one place and choose to call it home then means that the other places must be foreign to us. Yet this place that is called Earth should be a home to us. We should go everywhere and choose if we are finding peace and we are considering it home or not. It is shame that I should choose this place that I pay taxes, or this place, or home should be a place that taxes me accordingly. You know, like the other places don't tax me as much as my home place does, and home is where I'm taxed. And I liked how Yvonne said it, and she was like, home has always been changing. And let me try to see if I can quote her and remember, but she was saying, Kenya is a place of many waters, and she's found home in that. Like, she's been in the streams of Turkana and truly believed that that was home. Again, she's found herself in the oceans at the coast and felt truly home. And at the same time, there are moments she's found herself seated at the next to her father's graveyard or her father's grave, and truly felt home at that point. And home always changes meaning. And with these particular experiences, they just make you feel like this is where you belong. And there are times when she's taken a flight and felt like she's completely and so tired of this place that is Nairobi, never wanting to come back. And then the moment she sets foot at some other place, she's like, Nairobi is home. And yeah, it just says a lot to the idea of home. Yeah, it's quite.
Home is a contradiction.
That was Yvvette
belonging. Kwa ile session ya nini?
Edwards, yeah. Yes, to
I
her,
think
actually, home is contradiction. Is like every time she's asked what is home, she says, I don't really know. Like, I honestly don't know. Yeah. And she explains how she doesn't know. And I think I really liked Yvvette because I have never felt so relatable to someone who seemed like, to me, she seemed so relatable inside that confusion. To her, she cannot define where home is, and home even in thought. Like, even the way she explains, you see how completely she is even trying to figure it out, even in speech, even in context. And she's like, I really now think I don't know what home is, but I'm just comfortable. I'm just comfortable in this contradiction. That was...
Na umeongelea story ya Yvonne na grave ya the father. Imenikumbusha Jennifer Makumbi. The authors were brilliant during hizo sessions. Na akimention, sijui kama ulikuwa kwa hiyo part, but akisema how every time akirudi Uganda anaambianga relative wake ampeleke home.
Oh yeah, nilikuwa.
Ni place ile familia yao yote imezikwa. Nakumbuka
great
grandparents na siblings wake. Then grandparent, siblings wake, then parents wake, siblings wake. Then akasema and we know next.
Actually
next itakuwa nani?
Nilikuwa nataka sana ongele hiyo place yake ya grave. How does it make you feel knowing that this is I'm next.
I am next.
Yeah.
And this is where I'll be laid.
And that's the thing about mortality and leaving. And pia naifikiria in the context of relatives wake and watoi wake, and whether pia watasema the same things. Because hiyo pia ilikama up tukiongelea Leila kiongelea watoi wake na vile ana bring up.
Leila.
And you're raising your children in this foreign country, but in some way you want to maintain this umbilical cord na your home country. And what does that mean for your children and how they formulate thoughts of home, thoughts and ideas about culture na identity. Juu kuna hiyo idea ya I wanna grow up in a different context totally. Lakini in some way as a human being unafeel hiyo significance na hiyo value in telling them hapa really si kwenu kwenu ni place ingine tofauti. And maybe for them itakuwa situation of going maybe there maybe during summer maybe one summer in how many years and I'm thinking about this, which reminds me of, it's similar to most of us when you grow up in the city.
Hata ndio nilikuwa kusema.
Na unaendanga ocha December. Maybe that was the tradition you had mkiwa toi. And niyo your parents kujaribu kukipia idea ya home na identity and culture intact na kuinculcate in you the same, ina tie to language, ina tie to place umegrow, ina tie to your identity. So even kumsha hiyo as well with our experiences which tuliongelea. Ukisema siaya ni home lakini si home at the same time. Unajua maybe umegrow up Nairobi, this has been your experience, maybe umeenda home once in a while kuvisit your parents, maybe a burial and such.
Nikuwa kusema tu hiyo ya vile umesema Leila alikuwa anasema anaongelea watoto wake, pia kulikuwa na another author, I think the one ule alikuwa na the ule alimention music, akisema pia hata yeye anajaribu kufunza watoi wake as much as say wako na watoi na anawalelea abroad, ajaribu kuonyesha nyewe home ni huku hivi, lakini akiwaleta how were related to the dust, you know, like
that's
like wanashanga hii kivumbi ni nini. And you know hata pia tulikuwa samu ya inatai to into walomelelewa Nairobi hata mimi the same idea nile nikienda ocha like ini home lakini currently home like mimi feel home ni Nairobi although nimechoka because I identify with Nairobi too much because I've grown up like nimeona iki change, nimeona streets ziki widen, ziki thicken, ziki disappear ali ziki you know, and it's insane.
It's interesting that because even the way she mentioned it is now she was realizing that home to these kids is this place where memories are forming now and their life is flowing. So now they are always in that vibration of this new place, and home at this point becomes a reminder of what we can call the aboriginal culture. Timo alikuwa anasema where you will be buried. That is where culture keeps reminding you of. You know, there's that one last, the very last place that you're supposed to rest.
Ni mimi nilisema but ni sawa.
Oh, ni
Erasure.
Cotton wax.
Interesting. Okay. Basi Timo alisema nini kwa
juu
ile conversation gani?
Jisa ilikuwa jana. We had come from session hiyo ya Yvvette.
Akitimoga unasikiza hata akuongelee vizuri.
Timo asikizi. Ana craft mabeats za kuzia wase. Ako busy. Tulikuwa tuna discuss hiyo idea tu ya home na kucontextualize the city versus the rural spaces and hiyo dichotomy and still unity and that contradiction. And then ndio nika bring up hiyo context ya culture na vile culturally wanasemanga home ni kule utazikwa. And then sasa Timo alibring in your thought ya for instance kwa culture yao Kikuyu culture alikuwa anasema wezi point grave.
Oh yes.
Nakumbuka tuwezi sema ati tule tulimzika pale, you'll have to use other means to show that ni pale place alizikwa and what that means culturally and why that is the case.
Check libalo.
Find a way.
It was very interesting
kuonyesha
pia hiyo perspective yake akisema that in death the person is vindicated of basically all the crimes that they ever committed in their culture, and how different that was to say the Luo culture where there are things even in death they cannot be
forgiven.
Like what?
Like suicide.
Yeah,
because for
that's
example,
considered nini
it's curse. Actually, if
Taboo.
yeah,
Which
there's a
hiyo- hiyo-
taboo and curse. Also.
which hiyo nimeona it's a commonality kwa different cultures. Hiyo ni ya suicide.
Because I think
Like
it's
kifo, kuna the way they treat your body and they treat you. That is
kama
different.
because
which is weird.
the common way that used to happen was suicide, and I don't understand why people hated themselves this much. Why do you choose hanging? Watu wa kitambo walikuwa wakitumia hanging. It was very, very common.
Ni
It's
kutumia-
because also currently sijui kama my studies are correct.
your
But
studies.
zile nimesoma like the studies that I've read are correct. Proper phrasing is needed. Inasema like death by hanging is like if done right
Effective.
is effective like more or less like 100% of the time, and it's almost instant. Like haiko
Asphyxiate.
ina kashu nini, and then unajua ikikukat cause ni your body weight ndio na gravity inafanya inakuwa tight haraka, so ati unaget
Leo tumeongelea suicide.
Because I'm such a visual person.
Unaiona.
Like every time ukimention kamba inaapia.
Mi hata outside of
sijali, mimi niko nimeshajionia.
mi hata outside of that nafikiria also access to the rope
Oh yeah. It's
outside of other means
Yeah.
za kujaribu
yeah.
so there's that as well.
So for the Luo, when that happens, is the dead body is seriously whooped. Yeah, like it's the members of the family watafika hapo, and they strip this dead body naked and it is whooped, and then now taken, and then usually it's buried. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but outside the Boum. Squeezy sasa with hii mambo ya masheria ya mashamba huwezi nje ya boma ni shamba. So we used to have
unalipa mse ambe oya umse itabidi tumembariki wako
Tumsetia
sina
hapa
jumla
hivi.
kuko.
And it's interesting because we would call them Gunda. Gunda is a place of no haina wenyewe. You would it's where if you are banished you would be told to stay. It's a place, and Gunda can be as close as just outside the perimeters of what these homesteads are. So there's always just a number of homesteads, and then they are encircled by one big fence or territory, and somehow that creates a feeling of home that it could be as small as just a shrub. There's just a shrub that goes round and holds these houses together in form of an arms of love. And if you are banished and you are told to put your house right outside, you feel like you umetupwa nje completely, yeah. And so that's where you'd be buried. And also kuna hizi ukikuwa umededi kama una mtoi wanadunga mwiba kwa hiyo kidole kubwa, and then sijui unaweka ukiface a very different direction, unajua, so that your spirit iende kabisa, there's such things in culture.
something else that nilikuwa nataka ku mention ni the forum that happened last which ilikuwa displaced / unplaced other. I think jina lake ni Mashanga au Mashanda, yeah. Na nimesahau jina Ribeiro nimesahau jina lake la kwanza. But I managed to catch the session. Now one of the things that waliongelea, the last question they were asked ilikuwa what can, because Ribeiro ni Brazilian and then Masha, remind me the name tafadhali.
The South Africa.
South African ni mashanga
Mashanda.
Mashanda.
No, Masande.
Masande na mashande
Oh, it's Sha.
walikuwa naulizwa what wanaweza learn from each other na
Okay.
jina la kwanza la Ribeiro ni
Jamila.
na Jamila naam yeye alisema I think last year alikuwa essay na alisema alinote her surprise when alifika kwa airport. I noticed everyone here is black.
No, wait, ngoja. This is where?
Everyone here essay
Okay.
essay kwa airport ilikuwa so surprising kwake. Oh my, everyone here is black.
That was the first
na
time.
alisema the same thing happened akiwa huku alifika Kenya because oh my, everyone here is black. You see the same in Brazil. You see the same. So kwake it's a new phenomenon that this is a reality that other people are experiencing. Then akasema something that pia ilistand out kwake in essay ilikuwa the Apartheid Museum. Na the reason ni how ana acknowledge South Africa ina keep your memory. Na wana store your memory, and you mentioned memory tukiongelea the previous festival ya last year, the future of memory. And memory pia ni an important part of home na home disruption and whatever ilikuwa ina happen kwa this particular festival. So alikuwa anasema that is something that Brazil can learn because alikuwa anatuambia huko wanajaribu sana ku erase memory na those
of atrocities
of whatever it may happen. So alikuwa anasema that's something they can pick. And then Mashande akasema it's a double-edged sword upande wake because alikuwa anasema there is your keeping of memory and storing memory that is happening and people wanaweza jua kile ilifanyika and they can confront the same and know how to deal without it, but it's also for them a pain point kwa sababu those things are still happening. So I found that to be profound because it's still happening and those systems za apartheid are still maintained and are still functioning
in Brazil,
in South Africa, and that is still a reality that they are dealing with. So I found that to be beautiful. You exchange walikuwa nayo. And then Alea, I have to mention Alea Kasam's performance here, 100 Years of Samosas.
Yes.
That was a beautiful and poignant story ya familia yao, their generations. Ilikuwa so beautifully done. I had a lot of enjoyment from kusikia hiyo story and how Ali tell in detail and then so much emotion and kuangalia afterwards because walikuwa na conversation na Rajan, just talking about the Asian community in Kenya, because that is also another thing.
Or them now settling, making Kenya their home, the Asian community.
Sasa unajua there's that, right? Kuna watu wenye walikuja na wakasettle, but pia kuna a large part of them, this is their home.
Yeah.
This is all they know for generations. And you were one of the thoughts when you think about the community. We usually think about au kukuja na kujiestablish hapa. Na for generations kuna wenye this has been their home. And so going back to what tulikuwa naongelea earlier, if they go back to the Asian countries, is that really home for them?
Is that okay?
Right? So there's that. So they were discussing the Asian community, South Asian communities huku, and their interactions na concept ya home, the interactions with this space. And kulikuwa na lot that also came out. Kuna Mudhondi Garland wa story moja. Alitupea story ya that morning akuja to the festival. Alikuwa naongea na Uber driver, akamshukula naishia na kudiscuss nini. And then the Uber driver akamuuliza, hawa India hao watakangi tuwaoe. and that ika bring in hiyo conversation ya hiyo segregation between them and other communities. Ika bring in pia Azalea alikuwa na speak, alikuwa nasema that their community now has to also confront hizo story za economic inequalities, tying it back to colonialism and the hierarchy vile ilikuwa organized with whites and then the Asian community and then the natives. Because whenever we think about that community, the Asian community, what happens, we usually think of them as better economically than we are, and then tunaangalianga pia where they live, how they've organized their lives economically. And Alea pia alikuwa na note that is usually what they focus on sana, ni take care of the economic aspect of their lives. So there comes in story their business acumen and how that is tied to who they are. Alikuwa nasema sa wa branch out pia wafikiri also politically and socially, how they can go about more integration na vitu kama hivyo. Of course Rajana kaongelea history ya the community huku, kazi imefanya na Awards the magazine, kuangalia pia vitu kama the Arusha Declaration and what it meant for that country as far as integration, to ensure the community society is one. Wakatouch on Idi Amin, I think ilikuwa 72
nice.
ilikuwa 72 akiambia Asians wa vacate na watoke country yao and what that meant. So I also loved that conversation and kule walipeleka. It's something also to think about, because also whenever we think about Kenyans who are tuna marginalize, hatuwafikiriangi
because it ties a lot to the
Kenyans.
cadence of their interaction, because in as much as they can be this can be their home, and upate they were born here and they've lived here say 20-30 years even after, or some even have their fathers born and raised here, and then them as the following generation raised here, they are still seen as visitors, there was this one time nilikuwa na pitia tu Instagram, and then there was a lady who was having this are they TikTokers who just stop people on the streets and then ask them questions. So alikuwa anaulizwa if they really love the idea of what Kenya is, and this lady was talking about how she was born here, she's grown up here, but her parents, having been from different races and deciding to settle here, every time her appearance make her seem foreign. Ataambiwa say, manze, I know Kenya. Like, she's had to know more about the streets more than the typical Kenyan knows, just to prove
that she's
but she's like, she will never fit. That hapo nilifeel pain yake. She was like, it hurt me that sometimes I feel like just because I look different, I will never fit. I will only fit after a second interaction. First interaction, I am not fitting. I am always this foreigner who is probably here on a mission to do something, business, maybe a tourist, and then a second introduction just to prove to people I was born here. And alikuwa anasema she prefers staying in Britain in as much as she really loves Kenya. Yes, because in Britain, she can comfortably consider herself a foreigner, like, I'm a visitor here. I don't have to be like you people. You consider me a visitor, and I'm indeed
visitor indeed.
Yeah.
Now also something to think about ni as I was telling you jana, ni kuhusu how disruptions na uprootings of people from their homes may become a regular phenomenon.
Yeah.
Now it also ties to how we think about home, na how people interact na the idea of home. So for example, you can think about post-election violence. Also walikuwa displaced from homes zile walikuwa wameishi for years and people whom they had lived with for years. Kuna hiyo nikupe example ya Bangu makija zao kuchomwa na kuambiwa watu wazidi places zingine. So hizi ni phenomena that zina happen. Na pia nikafikiria of Morocco.
Oh yes.
With the earthquake,
Oh yes.
displacing people, disrupting homes in the literal sense, na Libya with the floods.
Yes.
that
We.
wamekuwa
The
displaced.
Europeans of Africa wanasafa.
We.
Morocco ilikata usaidizi from France na Algeria. Kuna political underpinnings there, so kuna some quotes that nilikuwa naandika na ningependa nisome here that also stood out for me during those conversations. So Jennifer alisema departures become returns and returns
Yes.
become departures.
Yes.
That was powerful. That was powerful.
That's what Sam alikuwa na recount earlier. Leila alisema what Slim ulikuwa nasema, that outside of the home my worth declines.
Yeah.
I
Yes, I love
liked
that.
that. The farther you are from home,
Yeah.
Your value.
inapungua sasa we ni a stranger kwa hizo places.
It's like when ni
We ni
nani?
nani?
You have to build that worth and create it.
And the nearer you are to home, your value increase. And then Kalaf mwenye Irauka ametaja alisema hiyo nini, kuna hii concept ya you are returning to an idea as opposed to returning home, because what was has changed.
Actually, that reminds me of the conversation I was having with Babo some years back, and Babo was traveling a lot, and alikuwa anasema akirudi ana find it hard adjusting, because when you go away you're changing as a person, but the idea of the people you left here stays constant. You know, mimi najua Irauka ka ule mse mwenye tuna vibigi anda kwa gafri nikimkola ametokea. Najua Pablo ule mse mwenye mse wa Arsenali tu, unajua tapiga stories za politics. Ukirudi Arsenali mse wa ova. Ukirudi
Macondo.
Wewe bwana.
Ukirudi anaweza kuwa ameaccept your word.
Ukirudi unapata Pablo ako na watoto wa 6, unaona. Pablo mpira ana time ya
watoi
CBC and you're struggling.
CBC namkimbiza
CBC
atakuwa na bola atafanya homework na mtoi wake.
Manze, so wase wame change na wase wana change rapidly because the environment, the society is changing. So hiyo ilikuwa inatie a lot to that.
I also have kufikiria that your idea that you are returning to and you keeping that in your mind as things being constant is also when uko away we kujaribu kujistabilize.
Okay.
There's that. And then Youssef Adel, the Moroccan, alisema on the question of what we can offer humanity, I will shift to what did we not offer humanity.
Interesting. Hili kwa session gani?
As Africa. That the question came out.
Oh.
That was
so what did we not offer? Ilikuwa
home in a story.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So ilikuwa what exact session, but I love loved that. And then Alea akidiscuss the after story yake alisema I think we are in a battle against despair. And
Isn't that the daily battle?
zilikuwa beautiful sessions that tuli experience